There are three general-purpose bombs: the Mark 82 500-pound class, the Mark 83 1,000-pound class, and the Mark 84 2,000-pound class weapon. All have nose fuse, all are unguided. SMS codes are shown in the diagram. The F-18 can carry a maximum of 8 Mark 82s or 83s and 4 Mark 84s. For today's manual bombing demonstration, we will drop 8 Mark 82s. Manual bombing procedure. This is a teardrop manual weapons delivery pattern. For orientation, the green bull and the hatched run-in line are in the center. The run-in line has 3 major divisions, 3,000 feet apart. The middle and largest division is 1 nautical mile from the target. The run-in heading is 322 degrees. This will be a 50-degree dive pattern with left turns. The target's elevation is 5,190 feet. The release point is approximately 5,000 feet above the target. The planned release parameters are 9,800 feet MSL at 400 knots, indicated by the red dot. The roll-in point is 6,000 feet above the release point at 16,000 feet MSL at 250 knots at 1.8 nautical miles from the target, indicated by the arrowed blue dot. Flights will enter the pattern from the southeast along the run-in line at release altitude and airspeed, therefore at 9,800 feet at 400 knots. The first pass is a no-drop pass. Aircraft will cross the bull and pull up into a left climbing turn to a heading of 170 degrees and climb to Point Whiskey, the green dot. Point Whiskey is a beam the run-in line 1/3 the distance from the tail of the run-in line to the bull and 1 nautical mile from the target. From no earlier than Point Whiskey, a climbing turn will continue and arrive at the roll-in point at 1,600 feet at 250 knots. On subsequent passes, adjust the roll-in point in or out along the run-in line to correct for dive angle errors. Consistency and repeatability are critical to your ability to make meaningful corrections. This is especially true for your roll-in maneuver. It should be the same each time unless correcting for roll-in point errors. Pull up after each pass should be wings level to 15 degrees nose up and then a left climbing turn at 10 to 13 degrees nose up to a heading of 170 degrees to Point Whiskey as before. On each pass, call in hot at roll-in and off safe at pull-up after weapons release. For safety, begin pull-up on each pass no later than 8,500 feet MSL. Roll-in maneuver. Roll-in should be the same each time unless correcting for a previous error. The roll-in point is 1.8 nautical miles from the target at 16,000 feet and 250 knots. Power should be stable, holding 250. At 1.8 nautical miles, roll inverted and pull smoothly to fly the velocity vector to the checkpoint. Leave power at that stable setting. The 50-degree dive line in your HUD should be 4 degrees above the target. Fly to place the velocity vector 1.5 degrees below the 50-degree dive line and 2.5 degrees above the target. Once there, briefly bunt the stick to set the trim. Allow the velocity vector to track forward. Monitor decreasing altitude, increasing airspeed, and reticle pipper in that order of priority. If you have done all this, then airspeed should be 325 knots and TPA should be 2.5 degrees, passing 12,500. Focus now on your decreasing altitude. Hold wings level and continue to allow the velocity vector to track. At release altitude, adjusted for errors, hit the pickle. The reticle pipper, fixed at 91 mils, will track with the velocity vector. The sight angle, that is the flight path to target, will increase to about 6 degrees at the release point, which is the aim off angle. Depression angle tables list mil settings by dive angle, dive airspeed, and dive altitude. The tables and mil settings I will be using are my own. I produced these tables from historical tables which were generated for generic aircraft and generic weapons. Any errors are my own. However, they will work well enough for my purposes here. Setup in the cockpit includes arming and fusing weapons and configuring the weapon system for manual bombing, which means entering the correct mill setting for the expected dive angle, release altitude, and dive airspeed. Error correction is critical to successful manual weapons delivery. Understanding how to apply them is then paramount to the bomber pilot. The error table shows the offsetting relationship of errors in dive angle, dive airspeed, and release altitude. Attack pilots should memorize and practice using this table for it to be useful. A consistent roll and maneuver executed at the planned altitude, airspeed, and distance with precision will minimize dive angle and left-right error. Consistent roll and airspeed coupled with a consistent power setting will minimize release airspeed error. What remains is release altitude, which is controlled by your pickle, which can be at the planned release point or adjusted as determined by offsetting errors. May the Force be with you, Luke. Manual bombing is all about consistency and repeatability. Practice is essential. It's a skill. Some have it and others don't. Each pass builds on passes flown earlier. To kill a particular target, it may take just one pass, but not likely. Much more likely, it will take many passes, maybe many flights, and if the target is hardened, it could take several days by teams of aviators. This doesn't sound smart to today's aviator who is used to hitting targets from afar, using smart weapons guided by satellites and coherent light, GPS, and laser-guided weapons. However, until 1991, it was the way of the world, in all wars by all nations capable of dropping ordnance from aircraft. World Wars I and II, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, and even much of the Gulf War was accomplished largely, if not exclusively, by air crews dropping bombs the old-fashioned way, by manual bombing with iron sights and the Mark I eyeball. And of course, may the Force be with you. The tables discussed earlier describe what you are about to see. Continue watching this video to learn more, and subscribe to this channel if so inclined. Reputations aren't made in this arena unless you find yourself at the Battle of Midway. And remember, any Tom, Dick, or Harriet can hit the bull using CCIP. You are not a real light attack aviator unless your CEP is less than 75 feet and all 8 of your bombs are inside the outer ring. Okay, welcome folks. Here we are at Tonopah Air Base, and I'm in my F-18, and we're here to do the manual bombing training exercise. And I've got Luther, Mike, and Mark standing by to help us with that. Airplane's started. I'm going to do a few last things, like go to nose gear steering high gain. I just want to make a quick look around the cockpit. I think I've got everything set up, but just the last few checks here. We'll get those later. I'm going to set up some stuff on that panel here shortly once we start taxiing. And let's see, that's where I want it. That's off. Okay, that's all the way I want it. I think we're about ready to go here. So I'm going to go ahead and flash Luther, Mike, and Mark with my taxi light, letting them know I'm ready to taxi. And as we taxi out, I'll give them a quick salute, and off we go. Looks like one of our squadron mates is taxiing out. He's going somewhere separately. We're going to be on our solo today. So let's switch over to ground so we can get our clearance. Tonopah ground, FIST 407, taxi to runway 32, negative numbers.
FIST 407, ground, taxi to runway 32 via Foxtrot Alpha, Wienscom, altimeter 3003.
Roger, FIST 407, taxi to 32 via Foxtrot Alpha, altimeter setting is 3003. Okay.
Let's take a look real quick. Yeah, 3003 is set, and I'm going to go ahead and turn off my high gain while I taxi on this straightaway. And let's go ahead and set up this. We are going for a manual bombing exercise, so we want to put the mode in manual. That gives us this reticle here that we can enter. We do have 8 Mark 82 slicks, and those all have a nose fuse, so we'll we'll select that. And we want the bomb to go boom when it hits the target, so we'll select instantaneous. We're going to do singles, 8 of them, so that's why we have quantity molts the way that we want them. And now to put the reticle in, it's a UFC function, so we'll get the right code to put in there by going to my bomb delivery reticle depression settings table. Dive angle is 50, release altitude is 4596, and our knots is 400 knots, and they all converge for a mil setting of 91. So we'll put 91 into the reticle here, 91, and enter it. And it's in there. And it's it's a long taxi here. Reminds me of a long taxi I had with a former boss of mine. This is maybe 30 years ago, but when I got the job that I'm in now, actually, or close to it, I was riding with him. I was brand new. He was, even back then, he was an old man, but we were out at Edwards and we were taxiing from Dryden, which is the NASA facility out there, all the way to runway 4, which is a very long taxi. But this guy was a little nearsighted, and it was approaching dark, and he was having trouble seeing, so he was taxiing extra slow. And I swear I've never been in an airplane with anybody who taxied that slow. In fact, at the time, I was sure that there was a line of airplanes behind us, and all of them were honking their horns. I mean, that's how it felt. Anyways, I digress. Let's just double check, make sure I got everything I want. I got 2,500 pounds for bingo. Again, we're only going to be about 15 miles from the field, so that's more than enough gas. We got flaps set at half. We've got fuel bypass and field, and we've got anti-skid on. Altimeter setting we already got set. We talked about that. I've got the run-in line set into the waypoint 2. Waypoint 2 is the target, which is shown up here on the screen. And I think everything else is pretty much working out okay. There's a C-17 up here, either probably dropping some squadron off or picking somebody up. This particular one has some, look like some armed guards around it. Here we are in Nevada, which is nowhere near a border, and inside Nevada we're at Tonopah, which is kind of in the middle of nowhere, as you'll see shortly. And there's a fence around this base, and they still have 4 guards, armed guards, around this C-17. Kind of makes you wonder what's in it. Could be Area 51. Okay, I don't want to get too close behind my squadron mate here. He could be kicking up rocks and pebbles, and that would not be good for my engines.
Tower, Fist 410, request takeoff.
Fist 410, Tower, Wienscom, cleared for takeoff.
Tower, Fist 407, takeoff.
Fist 407, Tower, hold short.
Tower, Fist 407, hold short.
Fist 407, tower, line up and wait.
Tower, Fist 407, line up and wait. Okay, we're cleared on the runway, so I'm going to go ahead and arm my seat. And I already checked the trim setting. It's at 12 degrees nose up. Runway looks, or the approach area looks clear. And we're just waiting for the clearance.
Fist 407, tower, winds calm, cleared for takeoff.
Roger, Fist 407, clear for takeoff. Okay, now cleared. I think that's it. We're ready to go. Run up the engines, release the brakes, go to burner.
Fist 407, tower, frequency change approved.
Roger, Fist 407 switching. Okay, we're going to go up button 6 here, and we'll talk to the range here momentarily. That's the dry lake bit over there. It's part of the Hamilton complex of targets and stuff. Call sign Banker for what I hope is obvious reasons. Okay, we're going to head south here a little bit to pick up the run-in line, just to make our first pass at along the run-in line at about 400 knots and 9,800 feet. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and select this. That gives us the reticle. You can see we're at 91. I still got the cross in there because I haven't got the master switch on, which I'll get here shortly, momentarily. Banker Fist 407 checking in, request clearance on to Bravo 19.
Fist 407, Banker. Go ahead with your lineup, ordnance load, delivery type, and time on station.
Roger, Fist 407 is a single F-18 with 8 Mark 82s for single drops on the bull. Estimate about 20 minutes.
Fist 407, Banker, copy. Report in hot and off safe for every run. Cleared onto Bravo 19.
Roger, 407 is cleared on the range, and we'll go. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the master arm on now. You can see the target down there underneath the nose. Okay, pulling up into the target now. And we're basically going to get 170 on the heading, climbing to 16,000, and looking for an airspeed at roll-in of 250 knots. So we'll be doing stuff to do that. We're also looking for a relationship with the run-in line, and if you look down there, you can see there are 3 major divisions. Each major division is about 3,000 feet from the other. The first one is about a half a mile short of the target, and the bigger, the middle, longer run-in line is about a mile from the target. And we're about 16,000 feet, and once we're abeam that middle line, we can start our turn in. We don't want to go any earlier than that. So we're about there now. We're at 16,000 feet, so we don't need to climb anymore, but I need to adjust the airspeed. I'll bleed some of that just by pulling G's in the turn here. And we're looking for a roll-in point of about 1.8 miles. Still a little bit high, a little bit fast, working it off. Okay, there's 16, a little bit low now, I'm a little bit slow, so let's adjust it. Get back on there. Yeah, a little bit fast there, a little bit low. Working on the details. 250, 16,000, hold that now. Hold it. A little bit fast, hold it. Okay, now I'm looking for 1.8 miles. There's 1.8 miles. And we'll pull down.
407 in hot.
And we keep the same power setting. And we're looking for 50 degrees. So set that. Okay. We'll see how that worked out. Well, that worked out pretty good. That makes follow-on drops that much more complicated. If I could repeat that every time, I would be one happy sailor.
407 off safe.
Fist 407, hit 290 at 15.
Okay, we're going to turn now. And because we actually delivered a weapon, we're lighter, that helps. And we're almost at 16, so I'm going to start lowering the nose. Right about there. And I got to bleed off a little airspeed, and I got to bring the nose around. Don't want to climb in the process. Don't want to dive either. Get that relationship back. Right about there. Okay, now get the speed back up there. Okay, you want to hold that angle about there. 50, we're low. Coming up on, okay, and there's 1.8. Pull.
407 in hot.
Keep the throttle where it was. Oh boy. This is going to be a little bit shallower. Okay, that's poking the hope here. Find out what it looks like. Not bad, not bad. Keep it up, Reagan.
407 off safe.
Again, consistency and repeatability are what is important here. Consistency and repeatability.
Fist 407, hit 045 at 45.
Okay, there's 170.
On the climb, maintain a heading of 170 degrees and a 10 to 13 degree nose-up attitude. Look first for Point Whiskey and then for 13,500 feet before beginning your turn to the roll-in point. Turning before those two parameters are met makes for a rushed attempt at setting stable roll-in parameters. .407 in hot. .407 is off safe.
Fist 407, hit 290 at 43.
A bit further from the line this time, so I probably didn't pull hard enough on that one. But it all works out. You can make adjustments at that point. Okay, there we're now abeam the line, so I'm going to start my turn. And we're healthy on the airspeed. Each time we drop a bomb, we're getting lighter. And notice I'm already at 16, so I over-climbed here, so we're going to have to make a fairly healthy 300-foot, almost 400-foot adjustment here. And we're fast. But we have plenty of time. They're not really all that far off. But you don't want to spend all your time doing that. Don't forget to call in. Okay, we're almost back. We're almost back. 250, 16,000, a little slow. Come over to 350. A little low. .407 in hot. Okay, and pull. Looks good, looks good, looks good. All right, we'll see how that one worked out. Okay, not bad, not bad. Keep working at it. Anytime I can get it on or inside that inner circle, that's good.
.407 is off safe.
Okay, that's 4 bombs, 4 to go. And I'm pulling a little bit, just a tad bit harder this time to keep that keep it tight. I don't think it's all that important. That looks a little better.
Fist 407, hit 180 at 73.
Okay, looking for that relationship, looking for the altitude, looking for the airspeed. Hey, there's the relationship, right at the middle line there. Airspeed's a little high, so I'm going to pull a little bit of power so that and pull a little bit of G to bleed it off. We got another 1,000 feet to go. Okay, I'm going to start sliding down there a little bit to control the climb rate. I don't want to have to make a big correction like we did last time, but I want to get up there. 50 feet, 30 feet, 10 feet, there we go. Okay, we're 20 knots fast. Let's slow down. Get to that 350 heading or so. There's 50 knots, 250. There's 1.8, there's the roll in. Fist 407 in hot. Okay. Okay, let's get to that quick relationship. Line it up nice. Okay. Okay, that looked good. A little bit left of target though.
407 off safe.
Okay. 3 to go.
Fist 407, hit 265 at 70.
170. Working on that relationship. Working on the altitude. And working on the airspeed. Again, we're getting lighter, so airspeed is obviously not an issue at all. In fact, if it is an issue, I'm always having too much. Okay, there's the middle line.
.407 is in hot. .407 is off safe.
Fist 407, hit 200 at 69.
On this run, I overshoot 16,000 feet. Take note of how I correct the problem. Notice also that airspeed, heading, and distance must all be kept in check as well. Then, after rolling wings level on the dive and flying the velocity vector to the initial point, I momentarily bunt the nose. This sets the trim and slows nose tracking. Off safe. When you need to spend time correcting errors in setup, it takes your mind away from the task at hand, which is pressing the weapon's release button at the precise moment. Stay focused, anticipate, and repeat.
Fist 407, hit 020 at 115.
During this last dive, Take note of where the 50-degree dive line on the HUD is located in relation to the target. Then notice where I first place the velocity vector. After bunting the nose, the velocity vector travels about 2 degrees before release occurs. You can tell when the pickle is pressed by when the weapon leaves the aircraft. .407 in hot.
Yes.
407 is off safe.
Fist 407, hit 335 at 15.
Banker, Fist 407 departing to the south for Saddleback.
Fist 407, banker, copy, frequency change approved.
Fist 407, roger, good day to you, and switching. Okay, let's go back to button 4 to tower. And we'll descend to 7,500 feet. And while we're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and put, get rid of these and put the HSI back on this screen. Select TACAN. Put the course needle over here. And let's go back to about 40 on that. Probably means I don't have the TACAN on yet. There we go, 77, enter. And let's put the thing up now. There we go, there it is. Okay, and we're going to Saddleback, which is the initial for the runway 32 over Tonopah. And the Saddleback is just this area right here. Looks like a saddle. Obviously, hence the name. And I'm going to put SA over, no wait, FCS on this page. I got SA down here. It shows me traffic that's on the net going into or operating in this area. And I plan to have a debrief shortly after we get back to the field. So hang in there if you can. I'll have all the data and we'll discuss what happened. Tower of Fist 407, Saddleback for the overhead.
Fist 407, Tower, winds calm, overhead pattern 6,600 feet, left turns, report the numbers.
407, roger, 6,600 foot pattern, left turns. And we'll go.
Fist 407, tower, break midfield.
Tower, Fist 47, roger, break midfield. Looks like the downwind's clear. Now just waiting for midfield. Which is right about here. And here we go, braking left. And we're below 250, so I'm going to get the gear and the flaps. Okay, get the trim. Tower of Fist 407, 3 down locked, full stop.
Fist 407, tower, winds 320 at 2 knots, altimeter 3003, cleared to land runway 32.
Fist 407, clear to land runway 32. Okay, bring the speed brake up. And we're going to taxi past Charlie and go on down to Delta. A little closer to our line. Speed brake in. Okay, I'm at a comfortable taxi speed, so I'm going to go ahead and save my seat. Ground, Fist 407, off at Delta, request taxi across Foxtrot.
407, ground, taxi across Foxtrot on Delta.
407, cleared across, thanks. Okay. Now maintenance wants us to park out front, it's easier for the trucks to get to, and once they're refueled, they'll take them into the little hangarettes and do the turnaround and be ready for the next crew. Yeah, it looks like Mark's out front for me tonight. Okay, I'll just shut down here and I'll see you guys at the brief, or at the debrief.
Welcome to my manual bombing debrief. I'll try to make this quick. Looking at the left side of the table, there was good consistency in my roll-in point. All were at 1.8 nautical miles with plus or minus 4 knots in airspeed and plus 20 and minus 50 feet from the planned roll-in altitude. However, my roll-in maneuver resulted in a consistently shallow dive angle. Not much, but it was there. I could have floated the roll-in slightly, but after my first hit, I decided to stay with what I was doing. Also, the power setting I used for each run wasn't consistent. I know this because my roll-in airspeed was fairly consistent, yet there was significant variance in release airspeed, a spread of about 38 knots. Some of that can be attributed to variance in release altitude, but the data doesn't support that alone. You want to be confident in your roll-in maneuver and power setting that they are correct and consistent so that they minimize the variables they control, so that your focus for the release can be on altitude and aim point. The goal, of course, is to find a power setting that consistently results in a release altitude of 400 knots. I briefed 250 knots as my roll-in airspeed, assuming I would have a stable power setting and then not move the throttle once in the dive. Unfortunately, my power at roll-in wasn't always stable. Avoiding left or right air must be accomplished in the roll-in maneuver as well. There is no time in the run to make those corrections and still have a stable weapons release platform. I was trying for 1G at release. I'm thinking momentum maybe from bunting the nose at or near checkpoint 12,500 feet resulted in some range errors. In the end, it was a gut feeling that resulted in the pickle timing. Well, that's it, folks. Short and sweet, and we'll see you next time on the range.